Mahomes at bay.
The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome to the Bucs Banter Podcast. I am your host, Collin Hallboom, and I am joined by my esteemed co-host, Scott Capron. Scotty, how are you, sir? Nice to see you.
Great to see you, man. Nice to be back. Nice to be back. A month away from football season. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it's been a minute or two, so we've got lots of stuff to catch up on. Bucs training camp is in full swing. The boys got the pads on this week. Bucs game day, we got eyes and feet on the ground there, so we're getting lots of good intel from those guys, along with all of the other media outlets that are covering Bucs training camp. And it's already been an eventful one. I mean, we haven't talked about Ryan Jensen, suffering a knee injury before the pads were even on. And I mean, all indications are he's likely going to be done for a significant amount of time, if not the entire season. So huge hit to the Bucs. I mean, let's not downplay the importance of Ryan Jensen. One of their leaders just inked a new deal, and a veteran player. He hasn't missed a start in 5 consecutive years, so durability has been one of his strong attributes.
Yeah,
and,
a tone setter for the offense, for the team, for the whole offense, for the whole team. It's just a killer loss.
Yeah, it really is. He's a leader. He's absolutely a leader along that offense. He calls shit out, and Tom Brady depends on him in a lot. I mean, he's worn a towel under his ass for 2 seasons now, and he's willing to do whatever it takes.
That's
when
you know.
Yeah.
That's when you know. Yeah.
And so there's no way around it. I mean, it's brutal. And if you're evaluating him from a more objective lens than what I might do, because we're already talking about Jensen just being that mean dude. He has that mentality. He sets the tone, like you said, but he's also a damn good blocking center, and he's incredibly technical, ferocious, of course. But I mean, Brandon Thorne, we always reference him as the GOAT, the trench GOAT. I call him because of his trench warfare
That's
coverage.
Pretty good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Trench goat is pretty good. Like that's okay.
He liked it when I called him that in a tweet once, but I didn't get the retweet though.
Oh, come on. I mean, it's so funny that people really are just like, wow, they have to really, really like it to actually sauce that retweet out there, right? I mean, it's so funny the difference between the two. But anyway, sir, I think trench coat should have been retweet worthy, but hey,
we may have to dig back into that well and throw it back at him one time in the future.
So.
We'll see.
I think so.
Yeah. But so Brandon Thorne, he ultimately considers Jensen to be the best center in football. So and he is all about the X's and O's and the details of it all. So that's just, another person supporting how important or how good of a football player he is.
And I don't mean to diminish him, or just he's solid, but he's also like wearing war paint and is a leader and all that. He's more than anything, he's just really good. And and the durability factor, like you said, not missing any starts for 5 years. Is that what you said? Like that's we see how important continuity is on the offensive line year over year. And, that's just been a staple for he's been, a staple for the Bucs. So just sucks, man. And wasn't it on like the third to last rep or like the third to last play of the practice? And I know you don't want to play that game because obviously it can happen at any time or blah, blah, blah. But God, like that just sucks. Like it just sucks.
Real shitty. And to make matters worse today, I mean, you hit me up with a private text about was Tristan Wirfs got carted off, and my heart obviously stopped when I saw that. Shortly after it was reported he just had cramps. They just wanted to get him out of the way quickly. So thank God.
Dude? Which is funny that because you kind of refer to Bowden and I as like objective non-Bucs fans just doing the podcast but following the Bucs. I was like, when I read the tweet, like I legitimately gasped thinking, oh God, not Wirfs, So, maybe I've actually crossed into Bucs fandom, or at least intense Bucs interest, because first of all, Wirfs is awesome. Like we discussed, obviously one of the most important players on the entire team. And it was like, really another one? And obviously I was a psycho and didn't actually read anything further. And then you told me it was just cramps, and, huge relief there, obviously.
Yeah, big time. And like they couldn't afford a hit like that. I mean, like you said, quite possibly be the second most important guy on the team on the offense anyway. So,
Yeah.
but let's talk about the Bucs options
Okay.
in to fill the void left by Jensen's likely departure for at least this season, or for at least most of the season. Second year player Robert Hainsey. Bucs kind of shocked some people when they drafted Hainsey in the 3rd round last year, and he was a tackle at Notre Dame, and they saw him as a center the whole way through. So he cross-trained at center and guard all of last season, got some snaps in, and the question becomes, like, is he ready? And the one thing I'll say is, you can't read too much into the commentary, but all the guys seem to have confidence in him. And then Nick Leverett is another guy whose name has been mentioned, and he's hasn't been invested in by the team the way that Hainsey was with a 3rd round draft pick. But that's another guy who does have capability and who is trained at center within this offensive scheme. So those are 2 of the in-house names that are worth considering. But I do think this is going to be Hainsey's job to lose if the Bucs don't go outside of Tampa. Both guys, though, so I'm telling you not to like buy into what people say and shit like that, but I totally bought into both of those guys' press conferences because I was just so fired up hearing how they discuss Jensen's value to them. And I kind of interpreted it as them saying, we love Ryan Jensen and would never want to see him go down, but like he has prepared us for this. Like I'm ready. They were both kind of saying, so that just kind of gave me a little jolt. I'm sure any Bucs fans watching would have felt the same way. But yeah, I think like we'll see what Hainsey's got, man. He's gonna have to. The other thing that's important to take note of is like the timeliness of this, not just because Jensen's recovery. Whenever we find out what the exact injury is, it's early. It's in training camp, so at least there is the possibility maybe he's able to return for playoffs or something. I don't know. But even if he isn't, it at least gives that young player who's going to be filling in for Hainsey, for Ryan Jensen, a fair bit of time to get himself settled. Looks like we lost Scott, which is okay. His internet just cut out. That's fine because I'm going to keep going. I wonder how long his frozen picture will stay up on the screen. I'm just going to adjust some things here, folks. So anyone who's watching doesn't have to. There we go. So yeah, we're just talking about Ryan Jensen being done. Robert Hainsey, the likely candidate. We'll see what this kid's got, this Notre Dame kid. And the other thing I want to say on that is Jason Light has an impeccable resume when it comes to identifying talent along the offensive line. He has found some gems. He rarely misses on that position, and he shocked some people, I think, when he took Hainsey in the 3rd. So what that means is I have a little more realistic belief in Hainsey's ability based on Jason Light's assessment of him and this Buccaneers talent, their talent observationists and such. Sorry, just trying to work out. Scotty Capron's trying to get back in the building. The only other name I want to mention, I briefly mentioned Nick Leverett as an option, but a lot of people on, all around the world, all around the football world anyway, have been discussing the idea of J.C. Tretter, formerly of the Cleveland Browns. He's graded out well for PFF. He's been a Pro Bowler, part of that really successful Browns offensive line over the last several seasons. He is still a free agent, so he is out there, J.C. Tretter. Is that someone the Buccaneers should consider adding? Get a veteran in there just in case Hainsey doesn't pan out, or maybe Hainsey gets hurt. I certainly am a fan of more bodies at such an important position, especially because Tom Brady is, due to his lack of mobility, him escaping an interior pass rush is problematic, which partially, he can't move very well. So that means, shoring things up right in front of him is as important, if not more important than for any other team in the league, right? So Jensen did so good at that. If Hainsey can, or if Hainsey gets hurt, then the Bucs could be in real trouble. So I do think a name like J.C. Tretter definitely has my attention. Scheme, versatility, fit, whatever. Scott, welcome back. I was just mentioning
sorry,
we got you here. No, you're good. I was just talking about J.C. Tretter of the Cleveland Browns, a guy who's a free agent who is very well respected as a center, veteran center, coming from a different offensive scheme, but nonetheless, someone who could come in and potentially fill that void on a 1-year deal or something. I kind of like the idea if the number's right. I mean, Bucs are getting tight though. They don't have a ton of money left, but if they could work something out, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to bringing in someone like a J.C. Tretter to just get a veteran in there and be a little bit insurance for Hainsey, or maybe he starts and Hainsey's his insurance.
I agree, and I think to me, this is, I mean, this might go without saying, but this is a ton of what Brady's input would be, right? And where he would feel more comfortable, right? I mean, if Hainsey just balls out and they have a great rapport during camp and he feels like he can handle it, based on what he shows in preseason, everything great. I still think having a little insurance at a position as important as center, like Treader that you just mentioned, would be huge. But basically, whatever Brady signs off on, as you said, one being the insurance for the other, whoever he feels more comfortable with. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. You can't mess around at that position, right? It needs to be set. It needs to be locked in and at least solid once the season starts.
100%. Totally agree. And if there is a time for this kind of injury to happen, it's now, because you get a good look at Hainsey, you get a good look at how he's doing, and that can help formulate your decision on how, do we really need a guy? Is this an emergency situation?
What are you? Sorry, I might have missed it. What are you hoping for?
I think I would be in favor. Like, I'm hoping Hainsey's the man, and I was saying when you slid out there, like Jason Light has an impeccable record at identifying, or resume of identifying talent on the offensive line. He's very very good at it. You got to believe him reaching what felt like a reach to a lot of people, taking Hainsey, an offensive tackle at Notre Dame, in the 3rd round to be a center. He sees something there. And now that he's got a year under his belt, like, he's certainly in a position where it could work out. But I just like also a proven veteran at such an important position for a team with Tom Brady, right? He's not mobile. So that interior pressure, if he's susceptible to that, he's fucked. Like, if someone gets through right up the gut, Brady ain't going nowhere. He's going down. Yeah,
and that's been the classic, you can get to Brady if you can knock him off his spot and get pressure up the middle, right? So it's extra important and just a lot of emphasis. It sounds to me like Hainsey is a solid player, might be able to actually step in and be good right away. Hopefully, I mean, like we said, that's the goal here. I don't really love the next man up mentality, like no excuses. It's like, oh well, there's a bit of an excuse. He's not as good as Ryan Jensen, so that would be the excuse, right? As being not as good a player, right? So if that comes to fruition, then I guess we'll kind of discuss it at that point. But you can already see, the football mentality is, it doesn't matter, get in there. He's gonna be he knows what to do. Okay, fair enough. He's not as good, so let's go from there.
I understand both. I understand, they have to present that mindset, and I also understand you making fun of it. So
no,
I like it.
For sure. And I understand the mentality, like no excuses, blah blah blah, or because you don't want to have an excuse. But then I think after the season, you can kind of look back and be like, there was an excuse. We didn't have our team fully because Jensen wasn't there. But anyway, I digress.
And I mean, Ali Marpet could play center too, right? He played center 1 year. Like that him not being there really sucks. But I mean,
God, he was so good, man.
Good.
That sucks.
Bucs fans have been spoiled, man, with great offensive line play. And again, that comes back to Jason Light doing his job, building the trenches. But anyway, we're talking about the potential to sign someone like a JC Treader. I want to talk about someone the Bucs did sign, and I think it caught some people off guard, and that's Julio Jones. I mean, obviously Julio had a terrible year last year. His hamstrings have been fucked up for the last 2 years. But my God, as your wide receiver 4, like, sign
it's unbelievable.
Up.
It's unbelievable.
This is the best receiving group they've had now.
Oh, and it keeps getting better. And like you said, he was hurt. I'm not saying that there hasn't been a regression there. He's obviously not the Julio from the Super Bowl year against the Patriots or anything like that. We know that, but I don't think he's as washed up or as bad as he was in Tennessee. They were super run heavy, obviously, and had AJ Brown as the top, as the top target. So it just wasn't a great situation. I was obviously dead wrong. I thought it would be good if he was healthy for him to be a number 2 on a decent offense. But then you have the inconsistency of Tannehill. Like we said, the force feeding of Henry, it just wasn't good. It never looked good. He never looked right. And, by all indications, he's looking pretty spry down in Florida.
Yeah, you, me, and Bo were all thinking it was a big acquisition for the Titans to get Julio. We all
Yeah.
believed in his talent. So 1 year later, I'm not willing to assume he's got nothing left in the tank. I think it is such a
Yeah.
great low risk, high reward signing.
For sure.
Because
And he's not a dick either.
oh, he's perfect. Julio's never
Yeah.
been a dick. Like, he
Haven't
just
heard
goes out.
anything.
No, he's just a cyborg alien, like
Yeah.
incredible / ballerina. Like, I don't know how to describe him. Like,
Yeah.
you
One of
know,
those. Yeah.
cyborg ballerina.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Super common. Yeah, man, why the hell not? He's now catching passes from Tom Brady, playing on a good team. Not that Tennessee wasn't solid last year. They were fine, but playing on a true Super Bowl contender. I will say I think I'm a little bit guilty of assuming the superstar receivers have 2 or 3 years left in the tank, more than they actually end up having. It just seems to kind of fall off a cliff for a lot of them, or at least maybe not a cliff, but like a steep enough hill, So I kind of buy into the name a little bit more than maybe I should, but I do think just for what they're actually getting here, it's truly just a no-brainer to add him to the squad, for sure.
And the important thing I want to add is, I mean, him having this hamstring injury, whatever, like, is that him being overworked, overused? Like, he's just not meant to be this feature receiver at this point of his career? Maybe he's really going to flourish not playing as many snaps a game, and they can keep him fresh.
Or just not fully healing, like, not to play, doctor, because I don't know shit, but like a hamstring, like, you actually have to stop, or you think it's there, and it takes one, I don't know, one jolt, one whatever, and you're back to square one, and you feel like you haven't actually made any progress. I don't know what actually happened, but one of the things I've had somewhat repeating is a hamstring thing, and it sucks, and you never feel like you can run or push off, and he just didn't look comfortable. And I say that because watching a lot of Titans games, other than Henry, the guy on this team I wanted to watch was Julio, to see what he was going to do, because I think I made a bunch of bold statements about it before the season started. So I was, hoping to be proven right at some point. Clearly wasn't, and it just didn't look good. So, maybe the new scene, that heat in Florida, who knows? Maybe it'll all add up to something good for him.
Yeah, Tom Brady does wonders too for receivers trying to reinvent themselves. So can't think of a better situation for him to reestablish himself. Him and Mike Evans playing together is wicked. Godwin engaged, like, that is just stupid. Like, it is.
It's crazy.
Actually, it's ridiculous.
It's insane. Who's going to be covering him? Like, seriously, they're going to have to line up like a strong safety coming up to the line. Like, what are they going to do? It's going to be insane. Can you believe that the Bucs have Julio Jones? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, when you look at your teams, like the teams you like, and it's like, oh yeah, the Raptors had this guy, or the Bucs
Hakeem
had
Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
That one was even so far gone. It was kind of like, okay, the dream is dead.
The dream shake. It's we need to shake it off right now as they're getting beaten by the Pistons. But it's just funny. Like, this is going to be one of those ones. I hope he kind of plays 3 or 4 years here, right? Like, how sweet would that be?
Be great, man. And like, when they lost Gronkowski, I mean, I think this is part of a contingency plan, and I think that's something Jason Light's become so good at, is he's kind of like, shift to plan B here. And Julio, like, we got to make up for Gronk's catches as well. And yes, we're going to talk about Kyle Rudolph in a second, or we can kind of just merge into that conversation. But he's got, it's not just the blocking and everything, but the receiving is important too. So maybe they've kind of have some ways to get creative on offense and have all 4 guys on the damn field together at a point. You know what I'm saying? Like, Julio is also a willing blocker for a receiver, which is an underrated part of his game and something that Bucs love. So
and like this is, who knows, speculation, but I feel like he's just gonna like click with Evans and Godwin and everything that those two are about. Like, don't you think that lines up so perfectly? Like, not to be all kumbaya about it or whatever, but it seems just like such a good fit. Like,
him and Evans
they have
Chris
always... Godwin's, Mike Evans, and Julio Jones. Like, that's a real thing that they're gonna put out there.
Yeah, like, I know, it's stupid. And like, obviously they see a ton of promise in Russell Gage, man. Like, $10 million a year. Like, this is a guy a lot of people are high on as well. And he's looked fantastic in camp too. Apparently he's getting open all over the place. Like, Todd Bowles said, the DBs can't cover him. So, lots to look forward to from the aerial attack. Brady might set some records this year. Wouldn't that be something? Tom Brady setting records.
Wouldn't be surprised in the least, man. And I hope we see a ton of aggression on first down to set up the later downs for more shots down the field with all these guys. Like, it just feels like bubble screens, quick outs. Like, they're going to be able to get 6 yards because who's going to be playing up on all these receivers with the the threat of them being beat deep, right? It just get the ball in those guys' hands. Give yourself easy second and third downs, or hopefully not even third downs. Give yourself a ton of second and twos and second and threes, and Brady's going to absolutely cut you up. He's going to absolutely dismantle you. And if that's the case, this offense is going to score, 34 points a game or something. Like, it's going to be very, very hard to stop.
Yeah, totally, man. It'd be fun to watch. That's for damn sure. At the worst case, it will be fun to watch, folks.
That's true. True.
A guy who's a little more vanilla than fun to watch, but certainly can do his job is Kyle Rudolph, and that's who the Buccaneers brought in. I like it too, man. Like, Rudolph is a vet. He gets it. When I wrote about Kyle Rudolph as an option for the Bucs earlier in the offseason, or like a month or two ago, should Gronkowski end up retiring, ultimately I came to the conclusion that he is, he's not a master receiver and he's not a master of pass protection or run blocking, but he's good enough at both to be a very solid NFL player.
Yeah, man. He's had a good career. He's had a productive career. And, you're getting a tight end on the, kind of the downside of their career time-wise. I'm not necessarily saying, ability, but, just coming to the end of his career for Rudolph. He's huge and he's got good hands. So right away, he has value in the red zone, right? As just another guy to get the ball to. So perfect.
Yeah. And just running those seam routes. Running those lazy seam routes that Brady loves and Gronk loves, like Rudolph do that all day.
Yeah, exactly. And just a big target for him to throw those over the middle too, like for Brady. So, and Rudolph was never a burner. Gronk certainly wasn't a burner in his last year. So it's not like it's a speed downgrade. Not that they would even care. It's just, and he's no Gronk, and he definitely doesn't obviously have the connection, the Brady Gronk connection, but let's see what he can do. I thought of the tight end options that were kind of being kicked around for them to pick up. I was hoping it was going to be Rudolph. And yeah, I think I know I'm just praising the Bucs, but I really like what they've done.
Yeah, man. Like I keep coming back to this. Like, Jason Light is just so good with these contingencies. Yeah. Shit doesn't go well, and he's just like, bam, okay, here we go. Plan B, plan C, Rudolph the red zone reindeer.
And isn't it funny? It's kind of like college with recruiting, like winning breeds winning. Like, they're just such a pro-seeming franchise now, right? Like, it's not Jameis throwing pick sixes. It's not poorly attended games at Raymond. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like a real place that people want to go play for and win and compete. And I know that sounds kind of whatever, but I think it matters, and I think that's like a Brady effect that just kind of permeates throughout the whole organization, and Light obviously as well. Like,
number of factors,
from the top.
But you're right. Like, Brady is certainly the fulcrum of that, and that's a cool episode. Just a transformation of the franchise. I mean, the organization and how it's viewed. I mean, it has been a true 180 from the losingest team in professional sports, all professional sports, to a legitimate contender, at least year in, year out, this past coming up on half decade. And it's been really fun for fans in Tampa to take in, and certainly for me and us covering the team. So
yeah, I mean, like, I don't think of them as that they were, not that they were ever a laughing stock, because like they had some solitude, but they were but they kind of were, right? Like, they were kind of a ridiculous team.
Especially if you go back before our time, bro. Like, I'm
more talking in between the Super Bowls, basically.
Right.
Like the creamsicle was like unbelievable. But like, Greg Schiano was the coach. Jesus Christ, like, how the hell did that go? But it kind of gets swept under the rug or whatever. But it's all of a sudden feels so much different for them.
Yeah, Lovie Smith was also a horrible head coach for us.
I respect him, but if you listen quietly, you can hear that Lovie Smith just punted. Yeah, he just punted somewhere, wherever he is. So that's nice.
You either got your head coach punting on third down like Lovie Smith, or you got him trying to injure the other team's quarterback as they're kneeling out at the end of the game, and Greg Schiano. So
tough luck. Oh my God, what an asshole. Yeah.
In terms of free agency, mentioned the Rudolph signing. There's been some chatter that the Bucs need to add an edge rusher, or not need to, but it might be an option. So Robert Quinn is a name who could potentially be got like that. Like that would be wild, but I don't feel the need of a guy that like I want Tryon Shoyinka to get some reps this year too. And then we obviously have Shaq Barrett. So there's another name is Trey Flowers. He's a free agent. You know, he's in Detroit. Like he's been injury plagued, but certainly has a ton of talent and he's young enough. That's a guy that's more appealing to me or interesting to me there because he wouldn't want to be on the field every down. And the Bucs D line is pretty set, but I do agree some depth could be added at the edge rusher position. So,
but I want the snaps going to Tryon Shoyinka. I really want to see him just bust out of it this year. Just be the best athlete on the field, and it's noticeable. You know what I mean? Like we obviously saw flashes and we know what he can do, but now, you know, second year, I feel like he can really take that step. And he's just like one of those guys that's fun to watch, man. And, you know, I think it matters that they drafted him, right? I think every team has kind of obviously, you know, a penchant for getting the guys that they actually brought in there to a high enough level and to see what they have. Obviously, that goes without saying. But, yeah, man, I just really want to see a ton out of him this year.
Yeah. And he's not like he can't do that sitting on the bench or being a part of a rotation. So that's why the Robert Quinn thing, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, or being a specialist, or you know what I mean? Like, get him out there. Get him out there. You need to.
Now, don't get me wrong. If Robert Quinn, I'd be pretty hyped about it. But I'm just saying.
But how good do you think Robert Quinn can still be?
I think he's pretty good, man. He had a hell of a year last year.
Yeah.
Like he had like a monster bounce back year.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull it up. I have no idea what it was, but he had 18 and a half sacks.
Okay. Well,
I don't blame you for like not knowing that because I was like Robert Quinn, and then I was like, holy shit, man.
He had 18 and a half sacks?
Yeah, he was second in the NFL, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, clearly I'm pretty dialed into the Quinn wagon here. I did not realize that. That's crazy. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
So,
all right. So then,
18 and a half.
You know what? Tryon Shoyinka, time to get to the bench. You know, really earn those snaps. Just completely disregard the last 2 minutes, everything I said. Holy shit.
Yeah, to be fair, he had like 30 in the last 7 years before that. So he pretty much
that's almost more encouraging.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, I guess. Depends how you look at it.
Depends how you look at it, but
I don't think they're getting Robert Quinn. I don't think they're trading for him.
No. But you're right. Like, yeah, you need depth. And if you can afford it, then go and get it. Whoever you can get that you think can help the team. I mean, yeah, that would clearly be a home run. Anyone else? So you mentioned Trey Flowers.
Trey Flowers is like a trade
nice
candidate. Yeah, like that one would make sense, right? Because he's like injury plagued, so you just like keep him fresh, and then you know help. And if for injury's sake, if one of the Bucs guys goes down, then you want someone. But I'm hoping for a lot from those two starting bookend rushers for the Bucs. So we'll see what happens there. I certainly wouldn't call it a need, especially with what just happened along the offensive line. I think.
Yeah. You can only do so much. It's so wild that you just have to prepare for season-ending injuries, right?
Oh, God,
they're inevitable. They will happen. You just hope they're not absolutely massive. Yeah.
So much luck involved in terms of like football. Like to have a successful season, you got to get lucky as hell. Shout out our boy Josh Queipo from Pewter Report.
Hey.
Josh put out a bunch of great work this past week, but I made sure to boost his article breaking down the Julio contract. So don't be thinking it's going to be for sure $6 million a year. Josh laid the law on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, check out his
great
work.
read.
Good to have you in the building, Josh. Hit us up if there's anything you want to talk about. I should have hollered at you to come on the show tonight. Damn it.
Oh yeah, that would have been great actually.
Yeah. I do want to touch on some of the things that have been discussed regarding training camp, or that need to be discussed more so. Chris Godwin's injury timeline. I mean, I think anyone who has followed Godwin's career or trajectory as a player isn't shocked that he's been fully cleared to resume activities. I mean, crazy quick turnaround for a significant knee injury. He's just an animal. And I'm hoping the Bucs will be very patient with him still. And they certainly, as we've discussed ad nauseum already, have the depth at the position that they don't need to rush him back, but encouraging nonetheless.
Yeah. What was the timeline again?
I mean, well, he got hurt in the second last regular season game of the year versus the
Right.
Saints. So what's that, around Christmas?
Yeah, right around Christmas. Yeah.
Right.
But I thought I saw
So,
someone hoping for like a game, like a week 6 comeback for him, but they're not going to push it. But I mean, it's hard to tell even now, right? It's still,
exactly.
yeah, it's still enough time out. So
Exactly. And the Bucs have been very quiet about it, which is a better way to do it. They're not really putting public timelines on that. So I kind of like
yeah,
that. It's just encouraging nonetheless to know that he's gotten his body to a point where he is cleared. So that's fantastic. And then a couple names, guys who are standing out at training camp that I'm hearing from the guys that we got there from Bucs game day and all of the other people who cover Bucs training camp. A couple names. Russell Gage apparently has looked really sharp. I already alluded to the fact that, oh, there's Josh giving us our details. Late December. Sounds like Christmas to me, Josh. Couldn't have gave me that one? No, he's just confirming. I'm just playing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but so Russell Gage, we already talked about it. He's turning heads. Bowles is saying they can't cover him. That's nice to see. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to take everything with a grain of salt when they're not in pads. But if you're talking about skill position guys, in one-on-ones and shell drills, I mean, that's the one area where even without pads, you can still see a lot or gain a lot of useful stuff. So Josh asked, thoughts on the secondary. Josh Queipo of Pewter Report, thoughts on the secondary. Lots of guys moving to different spots. Glad you brought that up. I mean,
that's huge.
yeah, but I think it's an asset. I think what they're doing is they're toying around trying to get everyone as familiar as they can with each of the positions. Between Neal, between Logan Ryan, they've had Antoine Winfield Jr. playing the nickel for like all last week. So I think it's really just trying to develop a familiarity with the roles of each position for all those guys. Maybe having them work at ones they want to see them improve at. And I think the actual like steadier roles for each of those guys will become determined before the season kicks off, and maybe a little more of a concrete role for each of them. But I think it's almost like a fiddling around of sorts. I don't know.
Who do
What do you think?
Yeah, who do you think's the most important guy in the secondary this year?
Great question. I mean, in the secondary, are you just talking
Yeah.
safeties or safeties and corners?
No, safeties and corners, the whole thing. Like, who do you think is going
I
to be the biggest barometer for how that defense performs?
yeah, I think Jamel Dean is kind of the X factor. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
because if he takes the step that I believe he can and he can stay on the field, then all of a sudden you're looking at, opposite Carlton Davis, you're looking at a position that's been not bad for the Bucs to becoming a real weapon for the team.
Yeah.
And it's a contract year for Jamel Dean, and that's a guy who I've had an affinity for quite some time, and he's a PFF darling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he's a guy I'd love to see. And then it's a big year for Mike Edwards too.
Yeah.
So it's very much a unit, though, Scott. The question,
Yeah, that's
like,
what I mean. I like
about
all the guys. I like all the guys individually. I just really want them to gel and like to get, like Josh is saying, looking forward to lots of pre and post snap rotations. Like that'll be fascinating to watch. And I think obviously the guys who obviously acclimate to it, the best are going to be the ones who are getting more playing time, right? And then we'll see how it grows as the season goes on. But the guys individually are talented, right? Like we like them. We like them back there.
Yeah. And it's a great mix of veteran and youth as well.
Yeah.
Right. Which I also like bringing in Keanu Neal and Logan Ryan to this group makes a ton of sense because, Mike Edwards, rookie deal, Carlton Davis just finished his rookie deal in re-up, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy Bunting. Those are young cats. So you want to have that mixture there, which I think is important. And like Josh is saying, Todd Bowles is all about deception, and he loves like inverting looks and like trying to disguise things. So again, the veterans help with that. And what Josh is alluding to is them moving all these guys around now to different spots allows that to happen. And communication, again, a huge trait of the veterans, as Josh points out. Josh has done a lot of work on these safeties, watching the tape for the new guys especially. So keep it coming, Josh. We always appreciate your input. Man. Hell, if you want to hop on right now, bro, I'll send you the link. I don't know.
But the community, it is so true. It's like to be like, we know playing defense in anything, in any sport, with any sort of rotation, it's all about communication and trust and knowing where you're supposed to be and knowing where everyone's supposed to be on the field, right? So that's a cool little, I don't want to say subplot, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm paying attention to exactly what the secondary for the Bucs is doing most weeks, but that'll be something I'll actually be like legitimately pretty interested to watch, because like I said, I like these guys. I like these individuals. I want to, want to see this. Want to see the secondary flourish here. Really help the Bucs' chances of actually getting back to that Super Bowl.
And like how many times we see teams get ravaged by injury to a key guy in the secondary, and unfortunately, that can really cause an issue for a team, right? With the Bucs now, you got all these guys who can play all these different spots. It's just great injury insurance as well. Which after what happened last year to Tampa, I think again Jason Light's contingencies coming into play here. He's making sure he's got a bunch of guys who he can throw into different spots on the back end.
Yeah,
and we don't want to forget about. We don't want to forget about Mike Edwards. That's the one name I just want to bring up too,
But we see it every week. Like when some poor bastard gets like the second stringer gets put in there to have to play against a real offense. It's like it's just so noticeable that they're not ready or physically able to do it. Right? It's such a terrible position not to be prepared, like not to be readily prepared. It's just awful.
And I'm thinking mentally even as much too. You're right, like physically and mentally, dude. There's so much you gotta like process and compute coming in there, and so yeah, it's good to have all the guys on the same page. Rashad White, the Arizona State Sun Devil, he's apparently looked quite good so far. I mean, the receiving skills are something that anyone who followed him in college is well aware of, and was expecting. But from the guys we got down there at training camp, they were impressed like with his size. Like he looks like a 3-down running back, so that's always cool. Josh is asking us about the Hainsey debate. Yeah, we covered this one off the top, Josh, because we haven't been on in a couple of weeks. So this was our first time talking about even the Jensen injury on the air. And we discussed, Jason Light's, just to summarize once more, but Jason Light's affinity and ability to draft quality offensive linemen, his belief in Hainsey reaching above where most saw him being drafted as a third rounder, and them seeing him as a center, him getting that year under his belt. We think he certainly could be ready to take this leap this year. And I know Tom Brady's had a history of winning Super Bowl championships with rookies or second-year guys under center who were unproven at the time. So that said, the JC Treader idea, depending on the numbers, I'm not going to pretend that veteran presence wouldn't excite me a little bit and provide a little bit of insurance, because if Hainsey goes down or Hainsey can't do it, there are concerns there as well. So that's kind of where we settled on that. Sorry, one more guy we already talked about Winfield. But yeah, Rashad White looks great. I'm curious to see how the running back room will shake out. A lot of people are assuming he is going to occupy the bulk of the RB2 carries we'll see. And
did you say how the running back room will milkshake out with Fournette?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Didn't you hear,
Poor
Scotty?
guy.
He's down to 240, bro. He's down to 240.
I know. He can probably shed it in. Obviously, like we said, we haven't been on for a bit, and that whatever the weight that Fournette signed or came into camp was a bit of a story there. These guys, honestly, like they just decide, they just like look in the mirror hard enough, and then like they gain 10 pounds of muscle, right? So these NFL players are insane.
But don't forget either. I'm saying he was down to 240.
No,
that's
relatively playable. What would he probably wanted to get down to, like 220 or 225, I would imagine, but
that'd be nice. I think he's 236, I think was like his playing weight, or like 230 somewhere.
It's just like what do these guys do
different. Though? Fournette's built different, no doubt. And
yeah, for sure.
He's blaming his family genetics today. I believe it was today he made a comment. I'm not down there at training camp, so I can't speak to it. It all jumbles together what day's what, but we'll see what Lenny brings come the season. All I'm going to say is, seems like Rashad White's putting some pressure on him. Okay, there we go. Queipo 240 at the combine, so there you go.
Okay,
so he is down to his. There, he looked damn good as a
down to his LSU weight. Yeah, I just don't like. Not that I'm a fucking beacon of health or anything. It just really. Like, what do you think? They're not going to weigh you when you get there? Like, it just seems wild to me. I don't understand it, but whatever.
Todd Bowles didn't seem as concerned as some others, but I didn't like that he was overweight. But anyway,
it's not a great.
Damn, every time Josh is around, we're talking about Lenny's weight. You must think we.
I know. We're like body shaming over here. It's so bad, but
you don't want me to take my shirt off. I can't body shame shit. And you don't want Scott to take his mustache off.
No, actually, I can. This is actually glued on. So,
exactly. Yeah. Now another name who's looked good, Jalen Darden. Jalen Darden, former draft pick out of North Texas, used a 4th, I believe, on him last year. They moved up to trade up into the 4th to draft Jalen Darden. Illustrious career in college. I think he was the second most prolific, statistically anyway, prolific receiver in college football behind Devontae. And anyway, it was a brutal rookie year for Darden, right? Who came in. They got rid of Jaden Mickens in order to pave the way for Darden to take over the returner duties. And he fell on it a little bit flat on his face. I mean, and he
didn't
had
look the part. Didn't look the part when he went. No,
looked like a junior high school kid dressing up as a football player for Halloween at the dance, and like he wore cleats. But he wears cleats onto the dance floor, so he's slipping all over the place. That's what it looked like watching him return kick. But anyway, like at least physically, Darden has been turning some heads, man. He's been going up and grabbing the ball through traffic again, though. Mostly, I'm referring to last week when the pads weren't on yet, and for a guy as small and frail and sometimes timid on the field. I mean, we'll see what Darden can bring, what kind of juice he can show in the return game, and even as a receiver. Because if he wants to make the team, he's going to have to show that he's taken some real strides. As our guy Queipo, Josh says, Darden needs to pick up on the mental side in camp. I don't know if Josh is reflecting to like he's hearing from his guys there, or if that Darden's kind of messing up a lot of plays and getting called out, or if that's just his observation. But I'm going to Josh is pretty plugged in, so that likely is an observation they've made directly from camp. So hopefully he's been studying the damn playbook and not doing so many Instagram lives of him sitting in his car in the dark, lip reading.
He's got, he's got what they can really use, right? And just that elusiveness, that true speed, like a game breaker with returns or a catch and a swing pass, things like that. It's a dimension that they could use, right? Because as great as their, receiving core is, it's not the burners necessarily, not to take away from,
Scooter.
Those guys are all fast, obviously. Yeah. But I would really be interested to see if he can take a step after being in the league, being on the team for a year, and just kind of getting adjusted to NFL pace and all of that. Because like you said, you saw the numbers in college, but obviously it was at a smaller school at North Texas, but it also wasn't at South Dakota, Southwestern State, right? Like North Texas plays some real teams and all that. But he just seems fun. Seems like the best version of him would be really fun. That's why I want to see it work out for him.
Yeah, well said. That's exactly it. And it'd be fun to have a guy like that on your team to be able to do it. Scotty, not Scotty Capron, not this Scooter. We're talking Scooter Miller. This is great. I feel like we're getting a running training camp diary from Josh right now. So I'm going to use it.
It's awesome.
Guiding our conversation. No, Scotty balled out today, man. I saw some clips. I saw a beautiful deep ball from Brady to Scotty Miller. Really curious. I mean, it's going to be hard, right? It's funny, right? I'm hearing Darden look good. Hearing Scotty looking good, at least today from Josh. Tyler Johnson, like all these guys at the bottom, like who's going to get cut? Who's going to be out?
Someone is.
They got too many guys. How many are they going to keep 10 receivers? So really excited to see how that shakes out. A little nervous even.
Yeah, and I take a little offense to you saying I didn't ball out today, considering, change multiple diapers. My son's rolling all over the place. It's a real athletic feat now just to do it right now. You got the hand in the chest. You got to do it. You got to do the diaper with the other hand. It's some coordination. I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like it's not much, but it's a win.
Fair.
Yeah.
Right? And you're trimming the mustache, right?
With that
thing.
Big day.
Yeah.
Big day.
Dad life. Hashtag dad life says JQ. I think we're all on board with that one. I had quite the weekend. My 4-year-old daughter boarded a plane on her own when we were waiting in the airport from Calgary last night. I'm not even joking. So we were running around frantically around the airport. I was screaming her name. Like it was awful. It was a huge scene. We thought our child was either abducted or lost. And that was going on for a good 5 to 7 minutes. I went to the woman at the microphone. I go, we got a missing child. Need to locate her. 4 years old, blonde girl named Avery. And they found she was on the plane. She had boarded the plane herself before we were boarding the plane. So anyway, crisis averted.
Yeah, crisis averted. Oh my God, gross.
maybe it's something Sean McVay would have done, right? He was early. He was ahead of his time. Pioneer for a young guy. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is Tom Brady, Miami Dolphins, Stephen Ross. Obviously, the Dolphins getting burned for tampering, and they directly discuss the team tampering with Tom Brady.
Yes.
Owner Stephen Ross. I mean, that has been talked about so much. Is it speculation? Is it real? Is it not? And here we go. Like, I mean, they have clearly found indisputable evidence that the Miami Dolphins made contact with Brady going back to when he was a Patriot, talking about ownership opportunities. So obviously that was happening last year. And actually Brady's been taking a fair bit of heat from Bucs fans. Some people are kind of like, they contacted him, whatever. Some are like, why would he do that? He's committed to the Bucs. I tend to side with doesn't mean he was going to he was cheating on the franchise. Like, he's just, what's the difference between him discussing an ownership stake with an NFL franchise or an owner for post-playing career? As him spending a lot of his off time during the season, talking about Brady brand and how he's gonna, oh shit, look who's in the building. We got our guy, Josh.
Hey,
what's going on, guys?
How are you, man?
So I gotta fix this. There we go.
Good. How about you?
Hey, no bad.
Well, sorry about the lighting. I'm in the car.
Happy to have
worries.
you on, Josh.
Thanks for popping on. That's awesome, man.
You started talking about. Not a problem. So I just pulled into the driveway. I was like, hey, let me jump in. I know you guys were kind of finishing up.
Oh, awesome.
When you started bringing up the tampering stuff, so many people have said so much stuff. I was like, all right, I'm going to jump in.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Yes. What are you hearing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing, obviously, Ross and the Dolphins got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. But the thing that I saw so much on Twitter was so many people were curious as to why Brady didn't get punished. And the biggest thing is, from the player side, there is no punishment for tampering. They can't tamper with teams. So it's the NFL strictly holds the teams accountable for that. And they lay out the violations in their own rule book. But there are no ways to punish a player if a team reaches out to them. And from my standpoint, just based on kind of reading the findings, is, if you're Brady and you're his representation and the Dolphins reach out to you and they say, hey, we'd be interested in you coming in as a minority owner when your playing days are over. And it was kind of obvious in hindsight that Brady was thinking about hanging it up after last year. Okay, yeah, we'll entertain that conversation, because from his side, there's no downside. He can't get in trouble for it. So he entertains the conversations. The Dolphins bring up playing. Don't know how he reacted to that. That hasn't come out. It could have been they brought it up and he's just like, nah, I'm good. I just want to talk about the ownership. And then eventually he decided, I still got some playing, days ahead of me, and he's still under contract with the Bucs, and that was that. So, but all these people talking about it's Brady and that's why he didn't get punished. No, it's strictly no player who's ever been involved in a tampering situation has ever received punishment, because there's no punishment to receive.
Yeah, like that seemed pretty black and white from what I was reading on Twitter. Like there's no gray area. There's no, oh, what if this, and certainly not just because of Brady's status or esteem that he's getting special treatment or anything. It was just, this is totally, strictly on the team in this case, right? So
yeah, and I've seen people talking about how he betrayed the team, he betrayed his teammates, he's going to lose the locker room. That to me is just outlandish.
No way.
Yeah, that's a lot of fan speak, right? Some of the old school loyalists, that's not what was it earlier, Scott? You were making fun of a football next man up philosophy, respectfully making fun of it, but it's people who would be all about that.
That's people in August who are tired of or not wanting to work. You know what I mean? And they're just on their phones all day. And it's like, all right, let's fire off a couple tweets about this. Right? Yeah. Come on. He's going to lose the locker room because of that. No way. Any normal person would just understand that. And he didn't even do anything.
You have a good night.
Oh, okay.
You heading out, Josh? There we go. Okay. I think Josh.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now I got to move this back around, but that's all right. We had a question come in here. Scotty, can you see it?
It's from
Dog's best friend. Read it for us, Scotty.
Yeah. So the last receiver spot, Miller, Darden, or Thompson?
So it's going to depend how many receivers the team takes, first off, right? But if let's just say, for the sake of Dog's best friend who's watching us on YouTube, shout out Dog's best friend. I mean, let's just say that they only had one spot left, and it was between those three. You've got, like, is it good? Thompson, I think, is too unproven, so I think it's between Miller or Darden, personally. My only thing, so with Miller, I couldn't believe how little time he saw on the field last year. Scotty Miller, like, I really expected him to, based off coming off his 2020 season, like making some real big plays and big spots.
Not to be too obvious, but it was super noticeable.
Yeah.
You know, like just casually watch, like, wow, like, yeah, he hasn't. Is he hurt? Is he dressed? Like, that's what it felt a couple times watching their games.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like both guys are having a good camp. I mean, but I would say it's kind of to be determined. Like, I would say, I think we still got to see once the pads are on, how much has Darden improved. Like, they just have had pads on for 2 days now, so I think it's to be determined.
What if he's asking who would you prefer?
Who would I prefer personally?
Yeah, who would you just prefer?
I would prefer Scotty Miller because we're win now, I think, and but I actually like kick returning.
And I would go Darden from an upside standpoint, but I wouldn't argue the Miller thing because we've seen it. And like we said, last year, obviously someone was up, but we know that he can do it. So
yeah. And like, but the return element actually is what's so crucial with Darden, right? He can return kicks as well. So I was kind of viewing it as a receiver, but if you consider that, I mean, that certainly does make a lot more sense. So you could go either way. You may have even just converted me there as I thought about it with the return game. But I do think, like, Josh alluded to him making some mental mistakes at camp. It sounds like Scooter's balling out. I mean, it'll be good. Tyler Johnson, like, how's he looking? Apparently good. Like, so they're gonna have some tough decisions at the bottom of that receiver core in terms of who's gonna make the roster. But yeah. Anyway, Scotty, I don't know if you have anything else you want to hit on, but I think we've more or less overstayed our welcome here. So we covered a bunch of training camp topics. We discussed the Ryan Jensen issue or injury issue. Guys who are popping off the screen, Kyle Rudolph, a whole whack of things. And we're going to be back next week with plenty more of observations from training camp. And hopefully we'll have a guest who's been at training camp, someone from Bucs Game Day, which reminds me, make sure you check out all of my written work at bucsgameday.com. It's the only Sports Illustrated website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you watched us tonight and you enjoyed the show, please do us a solid, like and subscribe on YouTube. Helps us out. And yeah, we'd love to interact with any of our viewers. So we got some really good interaction tonight, which was fantastic. And that really, it makes the show the best, most fun to do the show, most fun to listen to. So till next time, catch you on the flip side.